Hello, my name's Luke Cutforth, and today I thought I'd do something a little bit different. I'm going to start the Second Wizarding War. Well, I hope not, but possibly, because this is my Harry Potter fan theory. To summarise my point before we get started, and also to just get you all riled up, I'm going to be blaming the entire Wizarding War on Ravenclaw, but not the Ravenclaw you might think. Please make sure you drop a like on this video whilst you are here, as it really helps out my channel, and also hopefully will get this theory out to as many Harry Potter fans as possible. Now let's Alohomora this theory wide open. No. So, like every self-respecting Harry Potter fan, every so often I delve back into our Wizarding World Bible. Our Father, who art in King's Cross Station, apparently. Dumbledore be thy name. Thy Hogwarts come. Thy will be done. By Harry, even though he does not understand it. Give us this day our daily feast, and forgive us our dark arts, as we forgive those who use Expelliarmus against us. You get the idea. So I personally believe that any really good book written by a moral and intelligent person has metaphors and lessons in it from which you can draw truths about life and how to live it. And Harry Potter is a really good example of this. And I would take that one step further to say that even though a typical Gryffindor would maybe think that a Slytherin is awful, society actually needs all these people and all these qualities in order to function really well and to balance each other out. For example, take something seemingly innocent like a Hufflepuff could, if left in charge of everything, create a society based on loyalty and sharing. Could, at its most extreme, produce laziness. Because if a society shares everything regardless of hard work or ability, then the people don't have to do anything in order to have worth or survive. This is one of the arguments used against socialism. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that Hufflepuffs are socialist, I'm just plucking an idea out of the air to show that something that seems nice on the surface can also have bad effects down the line. A Slytherin or a Gryffindor society could be based around who is the most glorious or ambitious or strong, which means that you're never happy with what you have because there's always going to be somebody more ambitious or more glorious than you, which is basically what we have in capitalism. And a society based around wisdom like Ravenclaw could be so focused on knowledge that it forgets to care about the feelings of its people. I'm very much oversimplifying here, but my point is that every society needs a mix of people and ideas in order to stay stable, or, how the book puts it, the Four worked on creating Hogwarts in harmony. Harmony meaning the combination of simultaneous different characteristics to produce a pleasing effect. In conclusion, every house has its negative sides, which are balanced out by the positive sides of the other houses. Harmony. Now, my Harry Potter fan theory specifically concerns Ravenclaw House, more specifically, the Grey Lady, ghost of Ravenclaw Tower, Rowena Ravenclaw's daughter.
You're the Grey Lady.
All the way through the Harry Potter series, we are led to believe that Hogwarts operated in harmony until the rest of the founders fell out with Slytherin. Therefore, the breakdown of the founders as friends was Slytherin's fault. This is because Slytherin only wanted to train up the most magically pure of wizards, probably driven by the fear that if it wasn't carefully bred, then magic could be completely lost. This is kind of mirrored in the current debate we're having in our countries over immigration. Some people think we should put the inhabitants of our country first, close the borders, and some people think we should be loving and accepting of the whole world, open the borders and let people in. In reality, neither of these would really work on their own. If you don't let anybody in, for example, then our society as we know it right now would collapse because we rely massively on migrant workers for things like the NHS. And in the Wizarding world, closing off that much would probably lead to inbreeding. As Sirius says, the pureblood families are all interrelated. If you're only going to marry purebloods, your choice is very limited.
Pure blood mania.
And by the other extreme, if you let everybody in, then quickly you run out of houses and land and food and stuff. In the Wizarding world, it is logically possible, for example, although the book doesn't really give us an answer, that if wizards continued mating with muggles, somehow magic could be diluted out of existence. Now, the true solution to this, however, is just like the houses of Hogwarts, balance, but it takes those other founders to balance out Slytherin's ideas. The first thing you need to stand up to him is bravery, which comes from Gryffindor. You need kindness and inclusivity to see that non-purebloods don't deserve to be left out of education based on something that they cannot help. That comes from Hufflepuff. And lastly, you need wit beyond measure from Ravenclaw in order to decode the underlying logic of Slytherin's arguments and defeat it with better logic. For example, that pureblood exclusivity leads to interbreeding, which also could lead to the destruction of magic. So the founders, if they use their abilities together, should have been able to quell Slytherin, right? Well, yes, they should have, if they had their abilities. And it is for this reason that I believe that the breakdown of Hogwarts came not from Slytherin, but from Ravenclaw. In Book 7, we learn that the ghost, the Grey Lady, or Helena Ravenclaw, Rowena Ravenclaw's daughter, stole her mother's diadem, which was said to enhance the wisdom of the wearer. Rowena hid the fact that it had been stolen and pretended that she still had it. If part of the balance of Hogwarts came from the diadem and the powers that it gave her, then the balance of Hogwarts was interrupted by Helena Ravenclaw. It's like Gryffindor suddenly becoming a wimp and not standing up to Slytherin, or Hufflepuff suddenly becoming evil and siding with Slytherin. Rather than 3 versus 1, it would become 50-50. Therefore, when Slytherin tried to implement his pureblood agenda, Gryffindor was there to stand up to him physically. Hufflepuff was there to try and get him to see acceptance, but Ravenclaw could not defeat him logically because she did not have the source of her wisdom. Now, years later, Tom Riddle enters the scene. He is the heir of Slytherin and decides to try and continue Salazar Slytherin's noble work. Because Slytherin's ideas were never fully defeated, they were just sort of pushed aside by the others, we can see Voldemort's rise to power as a direct consequence of the founders of Hogwarts falling out, and by extension, a direct consequence of Helena stealing the diadem. Now, it's very important to understand that there is logic that leads Tom Riddle / Voldemort to his conclusion, and the only thing that can destroy logic is better logic, i.e. Ravenclaw. His logic is, I have power, they don't. Therefore, I am chosen in some way and deserve to rule over them. I also want to conserve that power by not have it be bred out of existence. It obviously sounds evil when you put it like that. I'm sure Voldemort has a very nice way of dressing it up. But that's actually how we run our world. We are cleverer than animals and therefore more important than animals, and they exist to serve and be ruled by us. There's a bit of Slytherin in everyone. So while Tom Riddle is at school, he manages to be so charming to Helena Ravenclaw's ghost that she shares with him where she hid the diadem after she stole it. Now, this could have been an incredibly pivotal moment for Tom Riddle if he'd had some humility and put on the diadem and gained the wisdom of Ravenclaw. That essentially would have made it the 50-50 split of the houses that we talked about earlier, with the wisdom and ambition of Ravenclaw and Slytherin versus the bravery and acceptance of Gryffindor and Hufflepuff. Or, when he put it on, he could have become so wise that he saw the error of his ways and never became Voldemort at all. Wouldn't that be nice? As it happens, Voldemort is so arrogant that he thinks that he doesn't need to learn anything and already knows everything, so he turns the diadem into a Horcrux. Only he and Helena Ravenclaw know about the diadem, know that it wasn't really lost, and so it's Helena Ravenclaw's fault that this Horcrux exists, and only she has the power to bring about its end. Okay, are you with me so far? To recap, the Hogwarts houses are representative of personalities and traits which, when kept in balance, produce harmony. Helena stealing her mother's source of power disrupted that harmony, leaving a gap for Slytherin to step out. And only Helena Ravenclaw has the power to reveal one of Voldemort's Horcruxes, because it's her fault. Are you with me? Because she never told anybody where she hid the diadem, that means that the entire wizarding world's hopes and dreams of not being led over by Lord Voldemort lie on Helena Ravenclaw's decision to come back as a ghost. To me, that seems a little bit lucky that she decided to come back as a ghost, therefore Voldemort doesn't rule the world, so I wanted to find a little bit of an alternative explanation to this. Nearly Headless Nick tells us that he came back because I was afraid of death. I chose to remain behind. But generally in most cultures, ghosts come back because of unfinished business. And when you Google search ghosts unfinished business, Pottermore has a whole page on ghosts and unfinished business. Thank you, JK. Moaning Myrtle wants to get back at the girl who bullied her. Professor Binns has unfinished business in that the teaching of students will never be finished. Nearly Headless Nick literally has unfinished business in that they didn't finish chopping off his head. That's pretty unfinished. And Helena Ravenclaw has unfinished business because, in my opinion, she started all of this. So near the end of the 7th book, Helena decides to tell Harry the story of stealing the diadem and giving its location to Tom Riddle. Harry is then able to find it and to destroy it, meaning that Helena's initial transgression, or her unfinished business, is over. I don't think Helena Ravenclaw had any choice to come back. I think she had to. I think, in my theory, she can now, as Dumbledore said, board a train or go on into the afterlife. This is not an attack on Ravenclaws, it was arrogance and selfishness that made her do this. Arrogance and selfishness are to blame, just like in Voldemort. Helena says, I sought to make myself cleverer, more important than my mother. And it's that that causes the Wizarding War. In every sense, in Helena Ravenclaw and in Voldemort. As I said at the start of the video, I think any good book written by a moral and intelligent person has a message, and I think that the message we're getting from J.K. Rowling here is that the universe has a natural balance. Any of the extremes can try and take control, but that will always get an equal and opposite reaction in the direction you are trying to fight. and the universe will always try and return to a state of equilibrium. The true way to find peace together is to realize that other people may have skills or understanding that you don't, and that just because you don't understand or agree with them doesn't mean you can't learn from them. This is in essence the Harry Potter biblical equivalent of the original sin, taking the forbidden fruit from the tree of knowledge. And so that is my Harry Potter fan theory. Maybe it's just a book about wizards and I'm thinking too deeply about it. So please let me know down in the comments down below what you thought of my first ever book theory video and what you think of my theory. Remember to leave a like if you liked my theory and a big fat dislike if you disliked my theory or disliked me. Subscribe if you're new here and I'll see you in the next video. Hey Siri, Knox.
Knox, ready, steady, go.
I'm a really cool person.